Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit, the eve of Christmas Eve special edition. I know we screwed up with your scheduling. We apologize. Take it up with the church. Um, I am Eric Tenkar. If you don't know, I can't help you. Sitting this way from me is none other than Bad Mike Battalato, aka say,
Pippin Gary Con tonight too.
oh,
Hey.
he's representing Gary Con. And with the weight of the show on his shoulders is the one, the only, Jim Kitchen.
And we are here. This is a tradition that Eric and I started many years ago when we. So take you back even farther. I was on a Frog God Games Discord channel, and I used to do a show every once a week. I started doing Christmas Eve shows because nobody's on Christmas Eve, and I wasn't doing anything. Nobody's doing anything.
Sure.
And, most people are just sad individuals. They're doing nothing Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Unless you have kids or family. And so whenever the week of Christmas, we do a show. We don't take vacations. We don't take time off.
No.
We don't take sick days, well, unless I'm sick, then I'd take a sick day. But most of the time we don't do that. So this is a tradition. We just get together right around Christmas. We have a couple of drinks, a few laughs. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna try to not to get too serious tonight. Although I do have one semi-serious topic to kind of bring up. And I want to do something I did last year. I want to ask Jim and Eric questions. I would like them to answer my questions.
Oh boy!
To the best of their ability. So,
God, I knew I should have gotten hard liquor for this show.
I'm gonna be busting open a bottle of 18-year Johnny Walker Scotch. I'm not a big Johnny Walker fan, but I figure anything 18 years old. Well, first of all, 18 years is legal, which is by my book is good. And I figure anything you bust open at 18 years old. No, I'm not going to go there. We're not going to go there. We're just gonna have a drink and have a good time. And let's see. Okay, I got that.
Right. Yeah, I'm not an eggnog person. There's some nog discussion, and I've never been an eggnog person.
I can't stand eggnog.
I don't get it.
It's smelling good. Okay,
it's clearly an acquired taste like poutine.
Or coquito, the Puerto Rican eggnog.
I've got frozen rocks, which
that's a good start.
Keeps your drink cold but doesn't melt, so you don't water your drink down.
Nice, right. I approve. The people of my homeland approve.
Oh, that's smooth.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, so
I might have to go up and get a bottle.
Okay, so before we kick off the festivities, I got one of my early Christmas gifts from none other than Foogly, who sent me a bag.
Nice.
Do not eat. And why shouldn't I eat it? Because Foogly listens way too well, and he printed me out a bag of dicks. So the attack of the Penisaurus will happen at a con near you at some point, and there's apparently 7 Penisauruses. So one will be staying with the DM, but there'll be parting gifts for the players, I would assume. But yes, now this arrived today, and Rachel's like, "Who's? That's not like Amazon boxing, and that doesn't look like a Kickstarter." I'm like, and I look at the name, I go, "It's Foogly." She goes, "Is it safe to open?" I go, "It's safe."
Oh yeah, it's always safe.
And then I told her, "Do not eat," and I went, "Oh my god!" And she's like, "What?" I said, "I think I got a bag of dicks." And she's like, "You're out of your mind. What are you talking about?" I go, "Just wait." Sure enough, I got a bag of dicks. So thank you, Foogly.
Well, it's better than you've got.
There's a long list of people in this industry that deserve a bag of dicks. And Eric, you are not at the head of that list. I'm just.
But you know what? This is my very own bag of dicks to use as I see fit. And I will.
I think that was sent with a congenial spirit.
Yes.
Mine would be sent with hate and loathing.
No, this will get put to good use.
I'm
guaranteed.
Yeah. I know somebody who actually, as a practical joke, went to a butcher's and procured a number
Of dicks?
And put them had them hermetically sealed up in plastic and sent them off to somebody. That was
yes. That would be. Ooh.
It was the proverbial bag.
Yes, the different sizes. The Saurus has minions. I noticed that, Fugly. That the main one will be staying with the GM. That's all I'm saying.
There's a main one.
There's a bigger. They're like just like in regular life. There are dicks of all sizes, but the bigger one will be mine. But there are smaller ones. So just saying.
It's a multitude. It's just
a multitude.
As I was told by somebody a long time ago, it ain't the meat, it's the motion. So
yes.
Wow, this is definitely the Christmas show. I'm getting that.
Well, is that a bag of holding dicks? Yes. That would have seen. That should have been the other side, Fugly. I may have to fix that.
I got a funny cat story.
All right,
my friend here. So this is my cat Winter. She's a black Russian or blue Russian. I'm sorry, not blue Russian. Found her about 8 years ago on my back porch in a freezing winter. She would have died. My dog found her and started barking and licked her head, and so they were friends for as long as he was alive. So she came from somewhere around here. We don't know where. Somewhere in the neighborhood. She walked around. She was tiny, like little. She's also pregnant. She gave birth like a few months later to 6 kittens. Anyway, so she's an inside cat. Don't let her out because she will run away. In the last few months, another blue Russian has come around the house, and I think it's a relative of hers because it belongs to somebody in the neighborhood who probably let her get out years ago. So this is like her brother or sister or cousin or something. And it has been coming around, and it sits in the window. It sits on the ground in front of the window and stares at my cat. And my cat stares at it, and they stare at each other all day long.
Oh,
trying to figure out their family relation. They know they're related, which I really think they are. They look exactly the same. And they will stare at each other for hours and hours upon end, staring at each other. So I don't know where this goes. I think they just, because I don't want them to meet, they would probably have a big fight and it would be ugly. So I guess they're just going to be friends through the window for God knows how long. I mean, apparently whoever owns this other cat doesn't mind it wandering the neighborhood, which that's another subject. Don't get me started on that. I don't like people that let their pets wander. That's not being a good owner, just letting your pet out like, hey, just go wreck the neighborhood and come back later and I'll feed you. You know, that's not, you're not being a responsible pet owner.
No.
So she has a new friend, and the other cat apparently wants to get to know my cat, and they will stare at each other for hours upon end, just stare at each other through the window. So that's my fun, happy cat story. Is she's found, I think, a long lost relative of hers.
There you go.
And so
one of my nieces is bringing her cat to the house, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch the dog and the cat interact. So, those shenanigans will kick off tomorrow night somewhere around 9:00, and we'll see how all that goes.
Oh boy. But so how does your dog do with cats?
The dog has never been around cats that much. So she's just like, they're not deer and they're not squirrels. So I'm like, what the hey? So, but she's a good dog. She'll be all right. So
she'll figure it out.
Oh, let's see. So it's the Christmas show, and I guess, Mike, do you want to kick off your questions?
Yes, I do. So I want to ask some questions. This is year-end type questions. So we're gonna, I want you, and I love you. I like your opinions. Both you and Eric, I think, are two of the people I would listen to. Hold on, a little refill here.
Oh, cheers.
For the people that I would listen to if I had to ask advice about gaming. So, seeing where we were in 2024 when it comes to D&D and WotC, and seeing how 2025 things happened, we saw some things change. How do you think this helps or hurts D&D going into 2026? Jim?
Okay, you picked me first. So I'm hopeful. We've just gotten through the Care Bears version of D&D so that some people could get their name on it and have their version of D&D, and it landed with a big resounding thud. And so I went to my local hobby store. I went to my local game store this past week, and I poked around and asked some discreet questions, and this thing was stillborn. It landed. Only the most devoted of the WotC faithful jumped on this and bought it and had to have it. It seems like everybody else just took a pass. So right off the bat, I don't think there's any way that things could go worse. I don't know if we're at the bottom, but we're pretty close. And so now they've got a chance to sort of careen back upwards. So I'm hopeful. And again, I'll say that I'm hopeful. Is it going to be, and we've talked about this, is it going to be, are they going to right the ship quickly? No. They are trapped on the super tanker that makes the turns very, very, very slowly. And so it doesn't matter how hard they try to pivot. We'll see. And since our last show, I've had some whispers. Occasionally people whisper things, and I would say that 90% of what we would like is in process, in the works, and so on and so forth. Dan Ayub is the guy with his hand on the steering wheel.
Yep. There
are a couple of things that people always bring up, things that got sidelined in the last 5 years or so, that those are things that are in domains outside his purview. And so I think, will there be action eventually? The Dark Masters of Providence, Rhode Island will figure some things out, or they won't. But Dan's world, he's very clearly got a hand on the wheel and is doing all he can to build bridges and try to get things right again. So I'm hopeful. That's how I would say. I'm hopeful.
So Eric, what would your answer be if somebody said 2024 and 2025 going ahead to 2026?
Well, going into 2026, I found it very interesting that over on Roll for Combat, Glicker was talking about that he heard rumors about D&D in 2026, and what he heard was that there will be 2 editions of D&D. One a revision of a classic and one 6th edition. So we shall see. What we do know from all these rumors is that WotC realizes that D&D 5.5 2024 landed like a brick. Okay? And it landed like a brick because they build it as it's totally compatible with D&D 2014, but you can't mix the books, don't cross the streams. You can't run old characters with new characters because you wouldn't want to, which means it's not the same game.
No.
Okay.
And they should have built it as such, yes. So,
right. But they didn't want to kill the back catalog. Somebody told them you can't kill the back catalog. I am hopeful for 2026.
I think I think if you look at why because you guys are hopeful, I'm going to throw in kind of the same thing with acknowledging that D&D with WotC is never going to be what we want. It's just not going. And if you approach it like that, it's like saying, I want Star Wars to go back to the original trilogy. It's just not going to happen. It's sad, but it won't really happen. As Jim points his finger up.
However, Lucas, under Disney, Lucasfilms has announced that for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, they have restored
the original
print of the movie, and they're going to release it in the theaters so that you can see the original uncut, unspecial edition version of Star Wars in a theater for the 50th anniversary.
Which, by the way, he said he would never do, and so he's doing it.
He no longer owns it, so they said nope.
Because he said he would never do that, which a lot of people, a lot of purists.
Now, I will also throw out that if you want a preview of what that's like, all you got to do is go out and look at the 1977 project, and you can find a 4K downloadable file of the original Star Wars, which some of us might have lurking on our media servers.
So
you can watch that bad boy right now.
So Han fires first, is what you're telling me?
Han's the only one that fires because Greedo never gets a shot off.
Ooh,
that's done. Boom.
Project 1977. Google it.
Well, revisioning the revision. By the way, AJ Pickett, thank you. $5 New Zealand.
Thank you for
Merry Christmas. Thank you to you all. And by the way, a little preview. Um, Next Wednesday, New Year's Eve, there will be a show if these gentlemen can do it, because I'm going to be on all night between this and the Gamers Health special at 11:30. So
I have an announcement to make. I will not be on the show next week. Christy and I are attending a
Oh
New
my
Year's
God,
party. It's a gaming party. It's a friend of mine is going to run games,
that's good.
and we're going to be gaming. So shockingly, for the first
not
time
be
in a decade or so, we have something to do on New Year's Eve. Actually,
Well, we'll have a lot of special guests, so we'll have one less special.
Well, I wanted to say about the 2024, 2025 is that I don't think there's much they could have done worse, as you guys alluded to. But I think what we're talking about here, I think we need to talk about three people, and that's Dan Ayub, Chris Perkins, and Jeremy Crawford. And Jeremy and Chris leaving and Dan arriving, I think that is our major point here.
That's the inflection point. That's the point of change.
And I think that's when we are going. That is hopeful. If you've been a longtime fan of this game, that is hopeful because, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of other people, D&D had stagnated under Perkins and Crawford. Look, give them all the props you want for 5e coming out and them being the original, brains behind that, but it had stagnated. And I think Dan wants to do the right thing. I don't know how much he can do I don't know what he can do, but he says the right things. And that's something that hasn't been said in a long time because no matter what you think of Perkins and Crawford, they said the wrong things a lot. And they said the wrong things.
Yes.
They said the wrong things a lot with confidence. They confidently
they were the masterful artists of stepping on the giant bag that Eric got.
Yes.
Can I put my words in print in a big book that people will? Oh yeah, I can kill sales. Yeah, hey, can I do a video and say things people don't want to hear? I can do that too.
They were proud of saying the wrong things, and I think Dan has come in and look. We don't know Dan. We don't know him that well to know anything, but he has at least said the right things, which is a step way in the right direction, going all the way back to the fall of 2022 when we first heard that D&D was under monetized and we want to make billions of dollars, and that was the first warning shot that we're like, I don't know. You think you're going by COVID numbers here, and I don't think COVID numbers are sustainable. But you guys, you do you and see what happens. Well, we saw what happened. It was a massive failure in terms of, these people are going to stick with D&D no matter what. We've got all these millions of people. There's millions of people out there that want to play, and maybe that's not true. And we found out that probably that was the perfect storm of COVID, and people are stuck inside, and there's 5th edition, and we're going to do things with other people online. It was the perfect storm. In the last 5 years, we have seen no resurgence of the perfect storm because, I don't know if they thought COVID was going to hit bad every year, and every year we're going to be locked up for 3 or 4 months and have to play online games. It just didn't happen. So I'm with you guys. I'm hopeful with also realizing that it's a game that I will never play. I'm not really interested in, but the rising tide, all the ships, blah, 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 as long as they're around and they bring people into the hobby, we've all seen it. We've seen a lot of people start out with 5e and work their way to the OSR, work their way to other editions and work their way into other games. I mean, you have some people that start with 5e that now they play Call of Cthulhu because, wow, there's a game where you can play 20s Private Investigators and Lovecraft. I never heard of this. This is awesome. And so you get people in your hobby that, they have the gateway drug of 5e, but then they veer off into other areas, and which is great. That's what we want, right? I mean, we want more people in the hobby, period.
All is coming to pass as I foretold, which is they get bored with 5e. They've played it to death. And the people who are transitory hobbyists, like they played with their friends because their friends were all playing, they go do other things, just like when we were in high school. There were guys I played D&D with and guys I knew who played D&D that they did that because the core of the group was doing it on Friday or Saturday night, right? They would collectively smoke like a quarter of a pound of hash and and play Molly Hatchet records and play D&D. And eventually some of these guys left that hobby. They left it behind. They did other stuff. They found girls, whatever. But there are people who will stay in the hobby, who role playing is always going to be a part of their lives. And they are going to move past D&D 5th edition, and they're going to discover Shadow Dark. They're going to discover all the other things. They're going to discover some of them might go toward the OSR. Some of them might go towards Call of Cthulhu, whatever. But we know this because we watched all of this happen before.
Right.
And you can only, like, I love 1st edition. I like 2nd edition. 3rd edition is okay. 4th edition is an abominable wreck. 5th edition is okay. Whatever we want to call the Perkins version. I refuse to get wrapped up in a lot of this because my love of D&D led to my love of Call of Cthulhu. It led to space opera. It led to all these other role-playing games, Villains and Vigilantes. You know, I've now got
absolutely.
The chat is now blowing up with Molly Hatchet aficionados. Because Word of Disaster is still the album to put on. We got to do a lot of cleaning. Yes, fabulous.
Oh my God.
But I don't think we should get wrapped. There is. I was thinking about this before the show today. That you know, the problem is that we run into these people that are like, Pathfinder 1.0 is the perfect role-playing game. Okay. I'm a big believer that the way you can actually process other people and get along with people is you understand that there is no one true God. There is no one true RPG.
Right.
And whatever works for you, I'm happy. But I'm not married to any single RPG, because if I am, then I'm never going to discover all these other wonderful RPGs that are out there to do clever things. I'll be the first to say Boot Hill is really just a miniatures combat game. I'll be the first person in line to say the original Top Secret is I like Merle, and he's a super nice guy, but that RPG is abominable and is just desperately in need of a much better rewrite.
Bill Barsh is calling you right now on the phone. That's the ringing you're hearing.
That's right. That's right. It's just his head's exploding. You know, I liked Gamma World, but my love of Gamma World is not the rules. My love is the setting. My love is deeply rooted in Thundar the Barbarian, and my God, Gamma World. We should do an entire night on Gamma World, because the original Gamma World 1st edition has the most amazing preface to how the world ended, and it's only like a page or so, but it's perfect, and it gets you right where you want to be.
Because less is more sometimes, Jim. Right?
Yes, it is. It really, really is. And so, I think that whatever you like as an RPG, I am always happy that you have found that. But you can't just stay with one game your entire life, because there's such a panoply of amazing RPGs out there. And if I had only stuck to the Holmes box set, which was the first box set I got, I would have missed out on so many other experiences just because I was playing that. You know, somebody like Shadowrun. Okay. I have them over on my shelf. I have a copy of Shadowrun that was gifted to me by somebody from FASA. And it's like literally one of the very first copies they ever got. And I think Shadowrun's okay. I don't love it, but there are people that live and die Shadowrun, and I'm happy they have their game. I'm happy they found
That's
that.
right, yeah. Don't yuck their yum, yeah.
That's right. Like there's just nothing to be gained by that. And I think I've said this on the show before. A few months ago over the summer, I ran into one of these people at the library of all places, talking about Pathfinder 2.0 and it's perfect and blah, blah, blah. And this is somebody at the reference desk. And they were just going on. And I said, okay. I said, I hear you. I said, and I'm glad you like it, but have you tried anything else? Well, there's nothing else to try. Okay, well, that's an interesting position to stake out, but sure. And I mentioned a few of the things that we always talk about on the show and so on, and just right over their head. And that's okay, because I think that's just cutting the nose off to spite your face.
Jim, my local game store owner, back when Pathfinder came out, I went in once and asked him if he'd be willing to carry other games because that's when the OSR was just starting to blow up. He said, "There's no need. Pathfinder solves every problem." And I was like,
okay.
Pathfinder solves every problem. It is the ultimate role playing game. There's no reason to play anything else. And he said, I don't even know why I would stock other games. I mean that's a common culty feeling about Pathfinder people.
I'm glad they're happy.
Yeah. But he was the owner of the game store, though. That you're in the game store. You have to. Don't you want to carry other games? Swords and Wizardry is no. Pathfinder is. You shouldn't want to play anything but Pathfinder.
This is like Pangloss. Pangloss going through life and saying, it just never gets any better than this. This is just perfect. And I got news for you, right? Like, I think I've told the story on here. I think I've told the story on here. Like one of the greatest convention experiences I ever had. Have I told you guys about the story about Origins in 1993? And we were also the host. The hotel was hosting Origins in Dallas Fort Worth.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Keep going.
And at the same time, the hotel was also hosting the Miss Texas pageant.
Nice.
And I had one of the greatest nights of my life because as we were getting ready to go to dinner and we were riding the elevator down, the elevator stops and 3 of the Miss Texas pageant contestants get on and they're in the full gowns and things have been hoisted and the hair is large and they sort of get on and there's like a collision of worlds. And there's that moment of silence, right? Because we were at the very top of the Hilton, and then we hit the 3 or 4 floors down. And I said, what are you guys doing later? And they were like, one of them's like, well, we've got the evening gown contest, and then at 9 o'clock, I think we're done. I was like, well, we'll be in the bar. And they were like, really? And then they all showed up later in the bar. That's the short version. But it was an amazing night. And I can tell you for a fact that if I had just decided that all I wanted to do was stay over in the opposite hotel and play Starfleet battles, I would have missed out on what was an epic and legendary evening. I got nothing.
No, I don't know that. What more do you need?
That's hard to follow. Except the only thing I can follow with, and it's not the same thing, is when I went to Gamehole Con, and this is back before Alex had the entire convention center, and it was being shared with a teen cheerleading competition, and we're talking young teens, and it was the most awkward thing I've ever had walking through to get to our games, walking past cheerleading moms and 14-year-olds cheerleading. It was don't make eye contact.
Never.
It was the most. It was like you're holding your D&D book over here and you're doing this.
Look at your feet.
Don't make any eye contact. And I think Alex at that point realized that I need the entire convention center. I don't need to share.
So what's your next question? Let's segue into
next question is, and I'm going to jump around a little bit. What was your favorite product that you purchased this year? It could be an older product, it could be a newer thing. What was the thing that you got that gave you joy? That you said, this is cool. I'm so glad I got this. Eric?
I'm actually going to say Dragon Slayer.
Okay.
And getting a chance to play it with Greg was great. It's kind of like how if I was going to rework AD&D 1E, it's closer to how I would wind up house ruling it. It never is what you would exactly do, because we're all tinkerers. If you're in the OSR, you tinker. You always want that exact system that fits all your, hits all your bells and whistles. But Dragon Slayer comes damn close to me, as is. So that was good. But there's been much that got released this year that I haven't read yet. Oh my God! Now 2026 is around the corner. I know.
We're gamers. We're behind on everything. You buy so many things you sit on the shelf and you don't look at it for years. Jim, can you think of something that you bought that gave you joy?
All right. Do you want old or do you want new? Or do you want both?
Old and new. Give it to me.
All right. So I've talked about this before, that every year at Christmas, I now buy a blister from the John Carter Warlord of Mars range from Heritage. So this is this year's blister. It showed up, and I've got it on my desk. This is
Martian?
actually Tars Tarkus,
Tars
Jeddah
Tarkus,
Thark. So the original heritage blister of.
Oh,
yeah, I know. That's just. And then actually, because I got a deal on it, I also picked up the Red Martian Command Group. So instead of one blister this year, I got a deal.
As one will, yes, obviously.
So I scored 2. So that's my something old. For something new, the problem I have is that I'm trying not to add to the gigantic piles of stuff. And it's kind of hard to like, when you have a lot, you don't need to add a lot more. And I'm pretty discretionary about what I buy and what I don't buy. I got burned last year Remember the WotC book where they included the remake of S3?
Oh yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed in that, and I was almost as disappointed in that as I was what was the Vecna, the terrible book about
Vecna?
Oh
my God, that was
so awful. Absolutely abominable.
That was an abomination.
And it ruined it for me because they took what was probably one of the greatest potential villains, where you could have done an RPG adventure book where really and truly the depths of evil should have dropped a lot of characters. It could have been a massive Nyarlathotep sort of spectacular. But I think new product wise, I can't think of something that just jumps out at me as being like a top favorite thing. Like there's nothing that sticks out, and that's unfortunate, simply because I do have a lot of great stuff that I picked up. I think, like, for example, I think the James Raggi, we've talked about this, that massive tome that I bought in North Texas. I'm very, very happy I have that. Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute watermark of quality that a lot of people should aspire to try to match. I've said before, Chubby Funster's in the chat. I got one of his books and was very, very happy with it at Gamehole, and very impressed with that. I've said good things about Shadow Dark, but I've also said, there's a lot of Shadow Dark Klingons. We're going to cling on and try to ride the coattails.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of horse shit associated with Shadow Dark from third-party publishers, and I've not been very impressed by that. And so, if you really made me say, what's a new product that you're really glad you bought? The James Raggi, the fact that there's only a few, like only a few people are ever going to hold something that's amazing. And I don't really like the idea of having some of these super limited collectibles, but gosh, it is really one of the nicest box sets I think I've seen in a long time.
Jim's talking about the proper name is True Relation of the Great Virginia Disaster, 1633. And I would say that's probably something I picked up I pick up a lot of things. I'm like Eric, I pick up a lot of things. It goes on the shelf, and then when I get time, I pull it out and read it. And sometimes it could be 2 or 3 years because we probably buy too much stuff.
We do.
We all buy too much stuff.
But that was something I flipped through, and I immediately was kind of bummed out that I don't play that kind of a game, because it's if you're not familiar with Lamentations, it takes place in the real world of the 16th, 17th century, with obviously supernatural things happen, and there's magic users and things like that. And I just don't play that kind of campaign. But it was Ezra did a great job. It well deserved the 3 Castles Award. It's just a really, really interesting. And to me, the success or failure of an RPG product is, can you read it and just enjoy it? And like, for instance, if you look at something like Master Nyarlathotep, the reason it's such a classic campaign is you can just read it and never play it and enjoy it. Right. And enjoy the craftsmanship and the plot line and the characters, and just say, wow, this was just something incredible. And I think that's what Virginia Disaster has going for it. You could read it, you could pull things out of there. Like, I'd like to use this in my game, or this chart makes sense for any role-playing game that takes place in a medieval setting. And so that was also on my list. I don't think I could have a 1 list. It would probably be a top 10 list, but there was so many good fanzines that came out this year. I mean, when Fight On 16 came out,
yes,
that was back in February, I believe. I was really excited because, wow, Fight On is back. I was really excited about that. I mean, like I said, there were so many fanzines that came out. Jeff had some really great stuff that came out. Gary's Appendix. I mean, just all these little bits and pieces that came out. I didn't really do a lot of Kickstarters this year, but I picked up a lot of stuff. Chubby Funster stuff is great. His Hex Crawl. I'm sorry, Greg. I cannot remember the name of it right now. This Hex Crawl that I think you bought also, Jim, was really, really good. Yeah. It's on my shelf over there. I don't want to have to get up and walk over there, but it was great. There was just so many little things like that. And I think what's really cool about the industry and about the OSR now is these products are so professional. They come out and they look good and they're written well and the artwork is excellent. And I just think that we just have such a high watermark now in the OSR because all these little projects are so well written and so well put together, and they look great on your shelf, and they play great. And it's just if you're not out there buying these small print run products, you're really missing something.
Well, and I think that's a great point. Number one, Mike and Eric can talk to this, but I try very hard when we have a guest on the show who offers, hey, would you like this for free? I'm really a hardline no, because I don't want them to feel like they are obligated to give us free stuff. Eric has always been very good about this. If they do donate stuff, it's nice to see it go to the sort of Gamers Christmas program. I'm a fan of all this sort of small stuff. I'm trying to work on getting a manuscript done and getting something printed and publishable for the spring. And I know what I want, and I know what I want to do with it, and it's sort of me throwing a hat into the ring on something. But I'm also very conscious of. I'm so critical when I go to shows and I walk around and I look at tables, because if your production values are low, if I see typos, if I see bad spelling, like there's no reason for you not to run your manuscript through a spell checker. There's just none whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And if I pick it up and I see grammatical errors that are just third grade, easy to spot, or I see really terrible misspellings or whatever, it makes me sad, because I think this is easy spit and polish. This is the stuff that can really, frankly, move you above a lot of what I would call the chafe in the fields. Mm-hmm. And so.
This was the Terra Invictus is the It's a gigantic hex crawl that Greg has put so much time and effort to do. I got this and I was just immediately said, wow, here's a book full of ideas. This is just, and that's what it is. It's a book full of ideas. You don't have to actually run this campaign or play it, but Greg did a great job on that. And then we talk about the True Relation. This is the 3-volume set. It's expensive, yes, but it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And it's just well written, and it's just good stuff. And I don't know, like I said, if you want to buy it, I know it's expensive, but it's a splurge. It's a splurge thing you get, and if you don't use it, just like I said, it's one of the rare RPG products. You just read it. You read it like you're reading a novel or a book, because you can just get so much out of it. And I remember getting Master Nyarlathotep and reading it and thinking, this is one of the first RPG products I've ever actually had, 84, 85, that I was like, I don't even know if I'll ever run this. I would love to run it, and I had to actually end up running it, which is great. But just reading through it, it's just amazing. It's an amazing campaign, and so that's the kind of stuff that I look at. And this is a small press publication, Kickstarter. It's called Windwraith.
Oh, that's good to have that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's also a kind of a hex crawly type thing, but there's just all kinds of charts about stuff that happens. It's a very oddball, unique setting. And look, there was a lot of these that came out. I'm not saying this is absolutely one of the best things that came out, but I'm just saying that this is the kind of small print stuff that I love. Oh, yes. By the way, I can also read it. It has large font.
So it's not okay. It's small press.
Yeah,
but not small print. Okay.
God love Mort Borg, but I can't. The colors and the weird fonts and the splashy. I
Yeah,
just like,
that was Numenera for me.
This is what I want. I want black and white. I want it readable. That's one of the things. By the way, I will go to my dying day saying that's what made Shadow Dark. That's one of the things that made Shadow Dark popular. Is they said we're not going to do the fancy bullshit. Black and white, large font. Here you go. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because I just want to be able to read it.
When your core market is getting older and older, and bifocals are a necessity. Like,
I actually have reading glasses on this desk somewhere. God knows. Real quick things. Robert, AJ, thank you so much for tossing into the pile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, talk about All-Star Christmas. Chris, you already emailed me at 10cars.tavern@gmail.com. Tell me what you want to put into the mix. PDFs are fine. If it's going to be something that's going to be shipped, don't ship it to me. Wait till we find somebody going to get the gift. And it's going to probably be U.S. only unless you tell me otherwise, because shipping sucks. It's going to kick off tomorrow night when I get home from my Christmas Eve festivities. And we're going to batch it in 3-day batches. So it's going to be 3 days of a bunch of gifts. And then
how long have you been doing this, Eric? This has been the OSR Christmas is
over a decade.
Quite a while. Yeah.
And in the beginning, people shipped to me and then I had to ship out. And that was a nightmare.
Yes, I remember shipping you a big giant pile of Judge's stuff a few years in a row.
So I don't repeat that nightmare. But just follow either the posts on this channel, because the posts will be there, or 10carstavern.com. And when you enter for a day or a group of days, that's great. And everybody who enters and has to be gifted will be put in for the Emperor's Choice big kahuna $185 Kickstarter. They'll be shipping sometime in January. So they've always been generous to us, and it should be no drawings.
They're great guys. The Emperor's Choice guys, great guys. We love having them on, as you know. And,
yes,
and they do a good job. So okay, so we're gonna, like I said, this is gonna go all over the place. Just because I like talking to you guys. What show and/or movie did you watch in 2025 that you recommend for somebody and say, hey, I saw this. This is cool stuff. You need to check it out.
The one that surprised me, the one that was sort of low on my radar, despite the fact that I'm a Guy Ritchie fan, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which
Fun movie.
Which is really a great. It's a very English-centric movie. It's got a great cast. It's fun. It has a Kelly's Heroes vibe to it. That it's sort of a breezy kind of, what's going to happen, so on and so forth. And I liked it a lot. I found it to be a very, pleasant surprise to
it looked like Cavill had a lot of fun with that, didn't it?
It did, right? And I would be perfectly happy to see a sequel. I don't think it'll happen, but I'd like to see a sequel. And come on, right? I'm a movie buff, right? So I'm always interested in seeing movies from other countries. I like English movies that are English, and if they make a bigger wave in the modern world, that's great. And if they don't have to. So,
Eric, would you have a movie or show that you thought I'd like more people to see this? And I saw it. It was good stuff.
God.
I'll let you think. I'll tell you a movie I saw that I thought was really good, and I would like to see it again. I only saw it once. It's called Sinners.
Very good movie.
Excellent movie. It's
very good movie.
It's crosses genres. It's a crime story. Takes place in the early 20th century, but it's also a vampire movie. That's not, and I'm not doing spoilers there. It's pretty obvious from the get-go what's going on there, and I like the genre movies that mix can turn out very good or very badly. So I've seen, if I've seen some bad examples. I thought was an excellent example.
It's a great movie.
I thought
It
Jordan
really
did
is.
a great job.
Movie.
He plays twins, and he did a great job. The acting is superb. The soundtrack is amazing.
If you're a Robert Johnson fan, it's great.
It's just a good story. It's a little gory, but a lot of the gore is actually off screen. It doesn't linger on a lot of the things. A lot of times it's a cut scene. Somebody jumps and then that's it, and then you find out later they're a vamp. And if you like horror and you like genre type movies that take place in the 20s, gangster type movies, give this one a try. I think
Sinners is very, very good. It is also not one to watch with your grandmother. Let's be clear.
Oh my!
No. There's some pretty great moments in that movie.
There's some language and there's some nudity.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans is a good way to put that. Definitely shenanigans. But that was a movie that I saw that I would recommend anybody in our crowd, in our RPG,
if you want a movie to show people what Call of Cthulhu could be like, that's a great movie. That's a great movie to show people.
I saw a lot of shows. A lot of the shows I saw were basically continuations. The latest season of Landman. The new Fallout looks good. It's only been one episode in, but Walter Goggins is great. And if you like Fallout, I'm a huge Fallout fan. It looks like it's going to be good. I really like Tulsa King. I didn't think this last season held up. I thought it was okay, but the first two seasons
feels rushed. It really feels rushed.
Yeah, it just didn't do it for me in terms of what the first two seasons did. But there's so much good stuff out there now. So much good TV shows. It's sad that they're almost all of them. I would be remiss in not mentioning Stranger Things. The last season, we saw the first part. Now the second part, the next 4 episodes come out Christmas, so that should be fun.
I'm going to binge it all at once.
I liked it okay. Eric, I didn't watch your show where you guys talked about it. What was your consensus on that, you and Joe?
I haven't seen, neither me nor Joe Block had seen the latest season.
Oh, okay. You haven't seen the 4 episodes.
No, we didn't see the final season. Joe, because he was waiting for his wife to be able to watch it because she had a procedure, was in the hospital. And me, because there's just too many moving parts. With Rach and I, after I do all my damn live streams, she's like, I just want to watch mindless stuff. I don't want to watch stuff I have to pay attention to. Put on something stupid on YouTube.
Well, I will say that my wife and I, we had to watch season 4 again because we'd forgotten so much stuff. And I'm glad we did, because season 5 begins right where 4 ends. And if I hadn't watched 4, I'd be like,
what did I miss?
Yeah. And so it really helped. We watch 4 and then, okay. Because so generally when you look at Stranger Things, season 5 is it's just classic. It's so good on so many levels. It's great. I think season 4 is the next best season because I think season 2 and 3, they dabbled. They kind of lost the plot in a lot of ways. I think 4 brought it back together. So I think 4 was the second strongest season. And it had Eddie, and you can't forget Eddie. Eddie was just awesome. They have a really good habit of introducing these side characters that turn out just to be kick-ass. And Eddie was a one for the ages, the metalhead guy the outcast who in school. And I had this guy at my high school, and I'm sure a lot of other people did. Now, I was in the 70s, not the 80s, but we had this guy. And I talk about him often. His name was Papa Squad Leader. Papa Squad Leader was Eddie before Eddie was Eddie, except he wore a cap. He wore an army cap and army fatigues and played squad leader. And in the back of the cafeteria the whole time out, until my senior year, because he graduated the year before me, but for 2 years we had Papa Squad Leader. Well, Eddie is that. And so I immediately said, that was my Eddie. So, but no, it was, and the latest season I think is okay. I'm still interested to see where it goes. But yeah, that was probably the show I looked forward to because it'd been. I didn't realize it'd been 3 years since Stranger Things.
It's been a long time, and
those kids are like 30 years old, and they're playing 18-year-olds, and you're like, I mean, poor. Oh my gosh, what's her name? The girl who plays 11. She looks 40. I mean, because
she looked older even when she was.
Yeah, she did. She's only in her 20s, but she looks
right
quite a bit older.
And somebody's mentioning Fallout. I didn't even realize a new Fallout season had launched until Amazon popped up in my email with kind of like a notification. I went, so that's something else, because I mean, the last series that like Rach and I really binged was like Slow Horses.
Slow Horses is good stuff.
When we found Slow Horses, we binged like 3 seasons in like 3 weeks. It was like nonstop. And it's great because there's so much stuff that you could see play out in Slow Horses in like a top secret game. It's just written on that type of level, and the characterizations are great. And then there's the one that I can't remember the damn title for the series, which is gonna be painful. The British Special Commandos, the where they started out. I should be able to remember what it was called. It was with Paddy, the Irish asshole. Yes, I can't remember the name of the damn series. I don't even know if that one's coming back for a 3rd season. So
I have been waiting to watch. I want to watch it all over a weekend or whatever. Pluribus on Apple, which is supposed to be spectacular.
Like for all the extra, yeah. I'm the. When I watch a new show, Jim, I don't know if you guys do this. I want all the episodes out for the first season. Now, later seasons I can catch up, but the first season, I want to be able to watch that whole thing. So I hear exactly what you're saying there. I want to wait for all the episodes to come out, and then we'll hit that because it has an interesting premise, doesn't it? I've seen the premise, and it's
very cool.
It's different.
I think Apple's very interesting for the science fiction that it's willing to do. For All Mankind is a nice sort of alternate Earth. Foundation is pretty spectacular. There's people knocking the new season of Fallout, and I'll just say, right,
it's only one episode in, folks. It's only one episode in.
I know. Just give it a chance. I liked season 1. I thought it was absolutely faithful to everything that got Fallout where it was. They absolutely nailed a lot of it. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it.
Their level of detail.
I think you have to watch this if you want more of it, right? That's the problem.
Right.
You might not like Fallout, but you better damn well watch it because Warehouse 13, my parents liked that. Like they actually watched Warehouse 13 and made time to watch it and so on and so forth. But the problem is sci-fi throws 20, 30, 40 projects at you, desperate to get one to get some traction. And then they just flog that horse to death. And I get tired of it. What's your next question, Mike?
All right, in that vein, what did you see or avoid that just made you go, man, they lost the Met? What are they doing? Why are we? I mean, because I got a few on this one. So
I'm coming out of the gates.
They want to kill the franchise. So let's talk about the franchise killers.
No. Let's talk about the most grievous mistake ever, which is the last time James Cameron made a movie that wasn't about awful CGI people was Titanic in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
And the newest one has landed. And it has just, I have zero interest in seeing more about the blue people.
Oh God, Avatar.
It's just going to be amazing CGI with characters that are paper thin. And I don't care. I did not go see the second one in the movie theater. I don't think I even saw the first one in the movie theater. Not that I can remember. And I'm damn sure not going to go see the third one. But if you're asking me, like, that's like the biggest problem child. And then somebody's talking in the comments about Star Trek. My God, this Starfleet Academy thing that's coming up It looks like, and the best part is they did a poster, they did a publicity poster, and somebody found the other original poster that it copied from 25 years ago. And I'm just like, it looks so terrible. It can't be as bad as it looks, but I'm afraid it's going to be.
It looks like Dawson's Creek in space. And I don't want to. I didn't ask for Dawson's Creek in space.
It's not going to work.
I absolutely didn't ask for that. For Dawson's Creek in space, and that's seemingly what we got there.
Well, and really, that's a shame with Star Trek. I want to say Strange New Worlds. I wanted to like, and it wasn't bad, but it didn't bring me back.
It was infinitely better than Discovery.
Oh, yeah.
Discovery and
Abomination, yeah.
And it's going to look like Shakespeare next to this Starfleet Academy 90210 business. Like I just
okay. Starfleet, yes, 90210 / Star Trek, yes.
Or no, actually, what it would be, it should be Starfleet Melrose Place, because that's what it looks like. It looks like all the pretty people in
I watched Melrose Place because I was dating a girl that watched it, and we had to compare notes on a weekly basis.
There's only been one really great moment on Melrose Place. And if you were dating somebody that made you watch Melrose Place,
I did.
You remember the scene where Michael the doctor and his girlfriend, the redhead, whatever her name is, they've just finished fooling around, and she gets up and she goes out of the bedroom and she walks into the bathroom, and they set up this great shot where suddenly she pulls her hair off and it's a wig, and she's got these hideous scars from where she was in an accident, and the camera just keeps pulling back and back. And you're like, oh my God, she's crazy. And she's, it was wonderful. Wonderful moment. Just, Starfleet Academy will not give me anything that cool.
So, Eric, do you have a franchise killer and or a stay away? Stay away with a crucifix. Pull up the crucifix and say, "Back, demon, back."
I still haven't gotten past the first 10 minutes of Rings of Power from the first season.
Oh my God!
I didn't try again. I can't. And I see Critical Drinker. We cover something once in a while. Yes, that's how I get my Rings of Power fixed. And I go,
Yeah, I didn't have to see The Acolyte because
it's covered
for me, and he went over it enough to where I'm like, dear God, thank you for letting me dodge that train wreck, because that was 2024 though, but that was almost a franchise killer, because I don't think Star Wars has done dong doo-doo since. Well, I took it back. We had Andor this year, and Andor got a lot of critical praise. I have not seen the new season, so I really can't comment, but I've only heard good things. So, it's amazing they can have garbage like The Acolyte and then have something as amazing as Andor in the same franchise. But that's what happens when the right hand and the left hand are doing different things. And we're going to put out a quality, space opera. We're going to put out dog shit, and you better like it, otherwise you're a bad person. So yeah.
And Theatis brings up a good point. And by the way, Theatis, thank you for gifting those memberships. Wheel of Time. Oh my God! Listen, I read the first, handful of books in Wheel of Time before it became the never-ending series. But I tried watching that first season with Rachel, and I turned to her and said, "Is there any character here that you actually are attached to and like? Is there anyone that isn't like either uninteresting or shit?" And she's like, "Yeah, no, I want." She goes, "I want The Witcher back." Well, yeah, The Witcher's going to be shit when it returns anyway. So, that's serious.
That was my stay away notice is The Witcher season, who cares? Because Clavel left because he was tired of the fact that they started moving farther and farther away from the books.
Yep.
And look, this guy is an uber nerd. He's read the books. He loved the books. He did a great job playing the main character. But every season got a little farther from the material, a little farther to 3 is a little farther. And he finally said, I'm done. And everything I've heard, every review I've read, I have read nothing positive about season 4. As a matter of fact, I've heard the word disaster mentioned quite a few times because it has one of the Hemsworth brothers instead of Cavill. And it has apparently gone so far off the path that it's not even recognizable. And people are just saying, just stay away. Just stay away from this because it is absolutely garbage. And so, yeah, that really it sucks because look, the video game's great. The source material has a lot of fans. Like I said, Cavill was a fan, and a lot of people I know that I have friends that are friends of love the material, but everybody has just run from this like it's on fire. I'm looking right now. Rotten Tomatoes. Look, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, you want to know how something does. Don't look at the critics. Critics can be bought. Look at the fan response. Now, critics have a tepid 59%. The fans 20%, which is generally, if it's under 50% from the fans, you know that it is absolute burning dumpster fire trash. So. Yeah, it's really, and I watched the first 3 seasons, and I had the same effect that, okay, for season 1's good, season 2's okay, season 3, I don't know what they're doing, and then I'm not even going to waste my time on season 4 because it doesn't seem like it's not even worth it as a bad watch, as a hate watch. Sometimes you can hate watch stuff.
Yeah, but I don't have time in my life these days.
No, I don't have time for hate watch. I'm 62, guys. I can't spend a lot of time hate watching garbage. That's why, like I said, Critical Drinker fills the role. I didn't have to watch The Acolyte to know it was hot burning trash, and I don't even have to watch the Critical Drinker to know The Witcher is hot burning trash. So that's
I mean, really and truly, there's somebody who's put together a clip on YouTube of every time Henry Cavill has done an interview show with a co-star where the women are looking at him like, when are you going to propose to me? I'm waiting. and it's not just like 2 or 3, but like it's all of them. And they're all watching him just, like they're in love with him. And I think to myself, I don't know anybody who doesn't think that this dude is an absolute unit. How do you not make this guy happy and keep him in your show? I just don't understand it.
Well, and if look, let's not make a mistake. He's the money. This is there's a famous story about Sting, and one of the first videos they did, featured Sting a lot, and the other guys complained about it, and he said, "Boys, the camera needs to be on the money." I mean, because he has an ego bigger than right. But I mean, he was right. It's Sting is the band, and so when you look at The Witcher, what The Witcher is Henry. It's him, and to say, thanks, but you want us to be more closer to the source material? Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to go off on these weird ass fucking tangents, and so if you don't like it, you're out. Oh, you're out. Okay, well, good. To think that would help sell your product is mind blowing, but it's pretty much par of the course of what Hollywood is doing nowadays. They're getting a little better at listening to people than say we don't want this, but they still have this, I don't know what it is, this hubris that, look, this is something we could probably spend a whole show on. There has been a lot of predictions in the last year that movies are going away. Movie theater.
Stop. Like, first of all, COVID was an accelerant. But the data was there very clearly, which is, we want to go see spectacles. Like we want to go see big
on the big screen, the biggest of all big screens.
And when you want to see something like that, IMAX, I'm sorry, just give me nothing but IMAX, right? For as much as you charge me for popcorn and soda, no, I won't buy the popcorn and soda, but by God, I want the IMAX. Like, I want the IMAX experience. But the problem is that if you hit the lottery, $10,000 will buy you the state of the art 8K fill your wall television.
Boom.
And another 10K will put you with a stereo system that will come pretty close to duplicating anything you'd want in a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And at 20K, you never have to put up with people around you talking on their cell phones, kids screaming, teenagers behaving badly. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
And so the very notion that we can see all these movie theaters surviving is ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. When I drive by and 9 times out of 10, the parking lot is almost empty, this tells me everything I need to know. And don't get me wrong, like, I love movie theaters.
We love it. We all three of us love movies. We love the experience. We love movies. Yes, we love.
But frankly, most of what they've been putting out is not going to drive butts in seats, right?
No.
I went to go see the latest Tron movie. I went to go see Tron Ares in the theater on opening night in an IMAX.
As you should.
And there were like 40 odd people, which I thought for a niche was pretty good. But like, I can tell you right now, I can make my list of movies that I know coming out next year. And like the Odyssey, I will be there on opening night. I will buy my ticket for the Odyssey the moment they go on sale, because I've been waiting ever since it was announced that he was making it. I've been all in. I cannot wait. And so as we get closer to the Odyssey, I'll have some recommendations on which translations people ought to read. I'm looking forward to it. The visuals, Agamemnon looks amazing. Like, the blue armor is just okay, sure. I can't believe I'm going to say that Matt Damon looks pretty grizzled as I'm all in. So we'll see. But the number of movies that I want to see in the movie theater is pitifully small, and has been pitifully small for years, simply because I can sit on my couch at home in my sweats watching TV, and I don't have to put up with all the other bullshit.
I can pay. I don't have to pay $10 for popcorn and $11.50 for a drink when I can go to my refrigerator, and if I got to pee, I can pause it.
That's right.
I don't have to miss it.
Wait, hold on. I just pee in the theater.
Mike, that's a Texas thing. That's okay.
Oh, that's Texas.
It's a Texas rule. That's fine. Listen, the last movie I saw in the theater was Honor Among Thieves, the D&D movie. The last one I
saw that in the movie theater, because again, if you don't see this stuff, you don't get this stuff.
Right.
My situation is, my wife and I, to us a movie. So we go on senior. I hate to say it, Senior Tuesdays. All the movies are $5. You can't. They're losing money.
No, I don't actually think they are losing money.
Well, we go in there, we buy some food because we're like, look, for $5. But I'm telling you, they're losing money, Jim, because the theater is freaking empty.
Yeah.
And that's the experience we like. There may be a couple other old couples in there, but we go in there and we have a giant 60-seat thing to ourselves. Yep. And that's why I know this industry is in trouble. We go there, and so we'll get a special. Usually there's a special on Tuesdays. It could be a pizza, it could be hamburger, whatever. We'll have a meal there. So we try to keep it under $50, but that's like our date. And we do that maybe twice a month, maybe sometimes even once a month. But we do it as a special activity. But I'm with you. Nowadays the experience in the home, look, almost. I was at Walmart the other day. For $200, you can get a 65-inch TV, and that's huge. That's huge. I mean, that's not even a great TV. That's not 70, 75 inches, like you said, a giant big screen. And the movie, the way now that they're streaming, the way that things are streaming, we are going to see a massive shutdown of theaters in the next 10 years, and there will be a few.
Oh, it's faster than that, Mike. It's going to be so much faster than that.
Because special occasions, like you said, like the Avatar movie or something with a bunch of explosions, whatever, you're going to want to go to the theater to see that. But these quiet melodramas and stuff like you're going to see that at home, because it's not going to be worth watching.
Here's the thing. There was a trend going back probably about 20, 30 years ago, at least in New York, where single screen theaters were suddenly dual screen theaters, and then it was 4 screens, and then it was 7, because they figured, you know what, for theaters to survive, those 7 screens are going to have to go back to being 1 or 2, because people who are going to go to the movie are going to want that big, huge screen experience. I've got a 75-inch TV set in this room that is big enough that Rach can read the subtitles. She's legally blind without struggling. That's as good as me going to the movie theater. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to surpass what these regular screens are now. You got to go to back to big, and that's going to be the consolidation.
But Eric and Jim, how much of the movie experience for people like us of our age is just nostalgia? Because my wife and I, we just like the experience.
So that's my next point. We have a small.
Well, kids are growing up. My grandson, he doesn't have that experience. No. He'll watch anything streaming. He doesn't care. And so once we start aging out of it, they're in trouble because a lot of it drives us to go there is nostalgia.
But I think there is a place. One of the things there is really clearly a place for is small mom and pop 1 screen, 2 screen theaters, because they can get the prints or rent whatever. They can do old movies, right? We're blessed with a small theater in town that shows old movies, and that's all they show. And so they've got this week they've got It's a Wonderful Life and exactly what you expect. But they show the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They did a James Bond swath over the summer. They did Dr. No, then they did From Russia with Love. They're very clever on how they've done this, because again, like, if you want to see one of the original James Bond movies on the screen, this is the way you're going to see it. And then we also have to look at like programming like Fathom Events. Fathom Events gives you stuff that puts butts in seats for niche interests, right? Like, I'm a Mobile Suit Gundam fan, and they had Char's Counterattack as a Fathom event, and by God, I wanted to see it on the big screen, and I did. We're going to see more pivoting to that, where you're going to see theaters starting to embrace this retro. There'll be a theater devoted to Westerns, and I don't mean a theater, but like your multiplex is going to have a screen that's just showing old Westerns, and you'll have a screen that's showing old film noir movies, and you'll have a screen that's showing romantic comedies. You're going to have a screen showing Hitchcock one month and whoever you're going to see this kind of programming because it's the only way it can survive. And the ones that don't move to this as aggressively as they can are hooped. And we'll see towns, we'll see the movie theater contraction where every town will have 1 to 2, the way it used to be before it exploded into all these multiplexes. So we'll see. What's your next question, Mike?
Real quick, I just wanted to say that I think you're right about the Fathom Events thing. I've talked about this quite a few shows about how I first saw Jaws on the big screen and Alien through a Fathom Events, and it was spectacular. And this is why I tell you the industry's in trouble. So a couple of years ago, they had all the Indiana Jones one summer as an event thing, and I brought the grandkids to see, because you got to see Indiana Jones on the big screen. Jim, the theater was packed.
Oh yeah,
and it was more full than I'd seen it for any movie the past 3 to 4 years. That's scary. If people are packing the theater to see a 40-year-old movie, and they're not there, and we go to see, movies nowadays, and there's 8 people in the theater, that's not good. No. And that just shows there's something people, they're not putting the stuff out that people want to see, or that the whole industry is driven by nostalgia. And once, like I said, we die off, that's it. The kids nowadays, they don't care. They're going to see something streaming.
I think everybody, we talk about these movies all the time, and I think you have to experience Star Wars in the movie theater when the Star Destroyer goes over at the start, and you're just, oh shit. There's so many moments like that in movies. That aspect of movies isn't going away, but the problem is that nobody's making movies like that. Now, I will say this. I will say this. The trailer that surprised me that it actually prompted me to call my stepmom and talk to her about it, and she looked it up and watched the trailer and immediately put it on the calendar to buy tickets to go see. Is The Sheep Detectives. Have you seen the trailer yet?
No.
I saw the trailer. It's a great trailer.
Great trailer. Brilliant trailer.
No spoilers, but you got to watch it. It's going to be. I think it might be a big hit. It looks funny as hell.
It's a perfect movie in that you could go see this as a family. You can take your mom on Mother's Day. It's enough cute, but it's got a hook. It's clever. Hugh Jackman, my God, the man just has a Xerox machine printing $100
Just watch
bills.
the trailer. It takes a twist, and you're like,
that's right.
Okay, that's what we're doing. It's funny.
And you know what? Hollywood had, in the 30s and 40s, Hollywood had this just series of movies like The Thin Man and there was also The Saint, but like there was even a Nancy Drew. There were 4 Nancy Drew movies and so on. But there were all these little series movies.
Charlie Chan was huge.
Yeah, Mexican Spitfire. All these great little series movies. And frankly, Hollywood could do a lot worse than to crank out a bunch of these. Netflix has figured this out. So, I'm hoping. We'll see.
So, maybe we should spend a whole show someday talking about the terrible industry. But so my next question is, what conventions are you guys going to next year, and are what convention are you looking forward to being at? Every year I know they change up a little bit. Jim, what are you going to hit? Where are you going to hit next year?
Well, I was talking about.
You've got a full schedule next year. You got a big schedule.
I was talking about this last night or the night before. So I'd love to come to North Texas to game day in January. I think by that time I could really use a break. But I'll run through my short list. So January, if I can get to North Texas, then March kicks off with GaryCon. April is WizardCon. May is DungeonCon in Fort Worth. Then June is North Texas. I don't think I have anything in July just yet. Then August is Gen Con. Then there's September I have off currently. And then it will be Gamehole in October. And I don't know of anything in November or December that anybody's really, but that's sort of my eye list. And so let me tap dance through the minefield. So North Texas game day in January would just be for my own, just to go play games, which I rarely get a chance to do that. GaryCon is going to be a lot of work. We have a very steep target for the charity auction this year. It's going to be a barn burner. I will play some games, but a lot of GaryCon is going to be a busman's holiday. I'm going to be doing a lot of work. WizardCon, and WizardCon is the same. There's going to be a charity auction. I've agreed we're going to do a panel on collectibles. I don't think we're going to get one in the GaryCon book yet. But then North Texas, I think, Mike, you and we should do our panel there, and then the charity auction. Then Dungeon Con. I'm sorry, I skipped over Dungeon Con in May, but Dungeon Con is again another charity auction, and that'll be the first one at Dungeon Con, trying to get that into good spirits. Then Gen Con is work. Gen Con is a lot of work. I put a lot of work into Gen Con last year and didn't quite work out the way I was hoping, but I think I've got to decide how much I want to work. And Gen Con, there's a game, I think I've talked about this before. I love Kingdom Death. I get a chance to play some Kingdom Death at Gen Con. That's one of the things that's important to me, and I'd like to do 2 or 3 games of Kingdom Death at Gen Con. Then we get to Gamehole, and again, we're going to probably do the collectible seminar and the charity auction again. So that's sort of what my year kind of looks like. It's getting thicker. I'm okay with that. I'm very blessed with people who want me at the podium trying to sell some things and raise some money. GaryCon, we have a target that we're not saying out loud, but we came very close to hitting the number last year when we came in with $93,000 at a charity auction.
Amazing.
And that's a lot of hard work. It's not just hard work of 3 hours of me standing in front of people, talking very quickly. But there's also a lot in the background and a lot of prep work. I meet every other Tuesday with a Gary Kahn charity auction meeting to try to get everything lined up to make sure that this one goes well. And I'm very fortunate. I work with Bill Meinhardt. I work with Josh Pop, Tim McMiniman. We've got a great crew of volunteers all trying to get this together to raise money for Children's Wisconsin and so on.
Great charity. Yeah, it's great.
So
you guys do an amazing job, Jim. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, you guys do an absolutely amazing job there.
But there's shows that I'd like to visit. I think there's a certain show in the Northwest that we've had somebody on a few times that I'd like to, the Northeast that I'd like to go visit. It's not in January. It's not that one. It's a smaller con, but I like smaller cons. This past year I just happened to be in town for the local con and was pleasantly surprised at it. I like cons because they rejuvenate you. I don't like the fact that I'm exhausted after working a convention and sometimes I get the con crud, but
you have a different, so your aspect is different, Jim, because it's a working holiday for you, a convention, because you're normally doing an auction and you're really good at it. I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, but you're very good at it. And that's why you get asked to all these conventions. But yeah, it's work, isn't it?
It is. I tried. Gary Kahn used to be the one where I spent I tried to invest time gaming, and then Gary Kahn's charity auction exploded, and we went from raising $8,000 a year to $93,000, and that kind of curve means that you have to roll up your sleeves and put a lot more work into it. I love going to shows, and I love discovering games. I love discovering things that have come out of people's creative juices and the effort that they make. I think that's a vital aspect. If you want to know what's coming, you can't find it at your local store first. You find it at the convention first, because that's where people are play testing. That's where people are like, "What do you think of this?" And I'm very much trying to get something done and in print. To get it at a convention this year and not necessarily sell it I'd like to sell it and cover costs, but I want to get it out there and see if it resonates with some people before I take it to a next step. And we'll see about that. I've got a manuscript I've been working on. So we'll see. So you, Mike, what shows are you looking forward to going to?
I'm looking up a couple because I'm not sure of exactly the date. So starting in January, we're going to have a game day last weekend of January, and that's really blown up. We had this our third year. We had about 25 people the first year. We had about 40 or 50 last year. We had some people fly. Kim George flew in. Fugly made the long drive down. So we're getting people coming into town. Bill Barsh, which is cool because it's just cool to have basically an over, just a game day, but yet you have people excited enough to come from out of town because it's like a mini North Texas in a lot of ways.
So let me throw something out. I think that the very notion of North Texas is game day is what made Winter Fantasy so appealing for TSR for the longest time. Mm-hmm. Winter Fantasy was the convention in January, I think it was January, where it was like 1/10 the size of Gen Con with all the same great people. And I got to one Winter Fantasy when TSR was still running it. I had the best time. It was a great show. And it was what you sort of needed to get out of the doldrums of winter and post-holiday.
Oh, yeah. It was in the dead of winter, up in the Midwest at that.
I know there are shows in January. I know that there are good-sized shows in January. But sweet Jesus, right? I don't want to be colder going to a show. I'd like to be warmer. And I don't even want to be like that in airport. I just need to be a little warmer.
You don't want to take a long plane trip and then be stuck in an airport either for an hour. I mean, I went to SnowCon one year in Maine. We had a blast. It was great. But the flight back is the thing of horrific memories because we got bounced, my brother and I, so many times. I ended up, we went to the airport at 6 a.m. I got home at midnight. So that tells you what kind of a day.
Yeah.
No, but I'll be doing the game day. I really want to make WizardCon. That's just, I'm not going to know till last minute. WizardCon, unfortunately, it's kind of a last minute thing.
Yep, in Michigan. Sorry, we should add it's in Michigan. I didn't
Michigan.
Say that. Sorry.
I will obviously North Texas in June. I'm going to a new con called Texoma Dungeon Con. It's going to be in Durant, Oklahoma, towards the end of June, and Gary and I have been offered to be special guests there, so I think we'll go because God knows, people that I'm not special enough to be a special guest at most cons. If I get offered, and Don has offered that at WizardCon too, and Don, I am going to try to make it, but it's a weird month. It's a weird time of year. We'll see what happens. But so I think Texoma Con, and I'm going back to EggCon this year because once again, they have also done something Madden. They have made me a special guest there too. So I'm going to be at EggCon in Lake Geneva in July. I had a blast last year, great time. So I'll be back there with Jan and Zach, and they've got a great guest list. Ed Greenwood is going to be there. Douglas Knott. I mean, just some people that you don't see in a lot of cons. So I'll hit that. I would love to go to ShireCon. I keep telling Tom I will make it one of these Septembers. It just hasn't happened. But that's a con that I would really love to.
ShireCon, definitely. I'd like to get to Shire.
I will try to get back to Gamehole Con this year. I missed this year for various reasons, but I will try to get back this year. I've always had a good time at Gamehole Con. Nothing else. I mean, most of the people that I love in the industry and my friends are all there, and I really was bummed out that I didn't get to be part of the auction because I don't trust you guys to run it that as good as when I'm there. So I feel like I need to be there to help you guys run it. No, I'm just kidding. It's great. Alex does a great job. Jim does a great job. It's a great con. I will be going to Long Con again, which is in East Texas in November. Definitely hit Long Con. And I'm trying to think. It seems like I've missed somebody in there, but I'm trying to space them out. There's going to be a lot in the summer, which is kind of rough to be doing North Texas and then Texoma Con and then EggCon. That's going to be a little dicey in the summer. And I swear I thought I had something else this spring besides Wizard.
If I hit the lottery, and I don't buy lottery cards or lottery tickets, so it won't happen. But if I hit the lottery, I'm going to buy a Corvette, and it's going to be my con car, and it's going to be what I use to go to cons. Right? Just because if I'm going to drive, I'm going to drive, and I'm going to drive at ludicrous speed, so I will be able to go to all these little conventions. Right? That's my.
You're just paying the tickets. Oh wait, you won the lottery. You don't care.
Oh yeah, you just hire a driver.
No,
I would like to say that I'm the only. If you looked at my list, the only big con I'm going to is Gamehole, which Alex does a good job of making a big con not seem like it's just ridiculously packed full. A lot of it's because they have a lot of space to spread out in, which helps quite a bit. But I'm pretty much done with big cons. Big cons are fun, but they exhaust me. They beat me down.
Yes.
You get sick more often. I just don't want to deal with crowds anymore. I don't have agoraphobia, but I'm pretty close to not wanting to deal with giant crowds of human beings. And I think from here on out, it's gonna that's Gamehole will be the biggest con I go to. I'd love to go back to Gary Con. I love Gary Con. I'm representing Gary Con, but it's just. Look, God love Luke and all the guys that, Josh and all the guys that make it such a great con. It's just so big for such a small venue. And I know there's nothing they can do about it, but I just feel like I'm this the whole time. And I love the con. I absolutely love Gary Con, but I'm probably not going to go back unless they move to a bigger venue, which
isn't going to
happen, or they cut off to 3,000 people, let's say, and say hard cap at 3,000 because it's gotten too crowded for me. If you saw what they're doing next year it's getting even bigger. They're opening even more places they have the entire Lake Geneva Ridge. They've got the whole thing now, but that town just can't hold a con like that. There's not enough hotels. There's no city close by to stay and drive in. Probably the closest big city, Chicago or
Milwaukee.
It's Milwaukee.
Yeah,
And the other thing that they
just,
have to deal with is the fact that Adepticon has now taken Milwaukee.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
It's just
yeah. So
I would love, but I that's on my back burner. If I can make it work at some point, and the time of year, it's an iffy time of year. It's March. I've driven through blizzards to get there. Absolutely, we've actually driven through a blizzard, Zach and I. Sometimes the weather's great, sometimes it's terrible, which affects travel. And I drive, I don't fly, so it definitely affects my travel plans. I think I'll eventually get back out there someday, but it would have to be under really strict circumstances. I'd have to have a room. I'd have to have travel. My travel would have to be, ice and snow free. I mean,
so
there's just so many.
Let me jinx myself. Let me jinx myself thoroughly.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So, one of the things that has changed with having somebody older living with us is that I have to be very conscious of not trying to bring the flu-mungus or con crud or something home. And so I want to say that like 2 years in a row, Gen Con gave me COVID at least once. And we've all gotten sick from Gary Con and so on and so forth. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to jinx me thoroughly, but I started taking the airborne gummies preventatively.
I've heard the magic
before
of this.
Gen Con. And somehow, with no change in behavior otherwise, somehow I dodged getting sick in any way, shape, or form from Gen Con, which frankly is against all conceivable odds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I managed to dodge anything at Gamehole. And so I'm not saying that I used to think airborne was just a bunch of hooey, but I'm now I'm 2 for 2 of not coming home and having to sleep on a couch sequestered in the basement. And there's something to be said for that. So I'm just going to throw that out there. That's my
that's a definite talking point for people to go to cons. That would be one of my pieces of advice: is load up on the vitamin D, the vitamin C, all the things that are going to help you. Because one of the thing about Gary Con is it's an old hotel, low ceilings. You're squished in. That they have the big giant bar area, which I love. The last time I went several years ago, the cacophony of sound, the din was mind-boggling. I had to leave after an hour. My head was spinning, and yes, I got sick. I got sick at Gary Con, very sick. Unfortunately, I gave it to Getty. I coughed all over him on the drive home, and then Getty called me up and said, "Yeah, guess what? Guess who's sick? I know I coughed on you for 2 8-hour days. I know you're sick." It's just there's a lot of things going against Gary Con that make I really would love to go back. The older you have to be careful. Look, I talked to some special guests who I won't name names, but they won't go to certain cons because they've gotten sick.
I think one of them is Alan Hammock. Alan has been very clear.
Alan Hammock and Steve Winter.
Alan Hammock, Steve Winter. They're like, I'm tired of getting sick, and I'm older, and I don't want to die.
No, I don't. Yes, Doug and I always said we don't want to be the con that kills kills a legend of the game, which is why it's great that it's in June. We hand out the bottles of sanitizer. I mean, we try to do everything we can to minimize people getting sick. We only have 2 tables a room, which is unheard of in the industry, because we like people space themselves out, but we try to do everything possible not to get these older special guests sick, because I don't want to be the guy that killed Steve Winter. My God, how are you going to live that down? Or Alan, I don't want to make, Alan Hammock.
If you don't come to Gary Con, you'll miss the falling raccoon.
That was a great story, by the way.
Oh my God.
Eric, what cons are you looking at next year?
Well, I had to scratch Page off, and I might have to scratch Total Con off. Our puppy's got to get fixed, and it's going to happen January, early February, so things are in flux.
Is puppy a euphemism for you?
Or no, the puppy.
Oh, you said fixed.
The puppy.
Okay, the puppy.
The puppy has to get spayed, and so. But I know in April I will definitely be at WizardCon. And then I followed it up with North Texas, which I immediately follow up with CNY.
Oh yes, the Great Small Con in New York that Roger.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah,
and then ShireCon in September. So definitely 4, maybe 5. I mean, ShireCon. We Rate stayed home at ShireCon because puppy needed mothering. So maybe I wound up going to TotalCon without Rach. I don't know. We'll see. But Paige is too early in the mix, and Paige is in Philadelphia in January.
I'd love, all apologies to Ron. Look, he's got almost 2,000 people at the con. First of all, I can't fly, and I have to fly in. And flying in January, I played that game with SnowCon a few years ago. It's not a good game. It's a game of chicken that you're going to lose probably 50% of the time. And I lost. The way there was great. I hadn't flown in 21 years, and I flew to Maine. I was like, this is great. Why haven't I been flying? Why haven't I flown 21 years? I figured it out on the way back when the weather hit. And It was a miserable day. And so I just can't take the chance, Ron. Sorry. I'd love to come to Paige. I hear great things about it. But, Philadelphia in January, one of these days, it's going to be the snowpocalypse, and it's going to be a disaster.
I was told it never snows in Philadelphia in January. And I was like,
is that true? Yeah. But there's so many great cons out there. I talked to somebody about Dave Con. They said, you got to come to Dave Con. You'd love Dave Con. Like I said, I really would love to go to WizardCon. It's still on the the marquee. We'll just see if things work out that time of year. There's so many great small cons now, and you don't understand how we went through such a dry period for 10, 15 years when there were no small cons anywhere. And right about 2008, that's when Gary Con started. That's when we started. That's when Gamehole started a few years ago. I mean, it all came out of this OSR thing. People going, hey, let's have a small con. And it's great. All these little mushrooms are popping up everywhere, these gaming mushrooms, and people can go have your flavor of, old school gaming. And I think it's really interesting that most of these are happening in the Midwest. It's kind of this little swath in the Midwest. You've got all these conventions. It's a great time to be alive and be going to cons. I think it reminds me of the days when I was younger and I would flip open my Dragon magazine. They had the page that talked about all the cons, and I would just daydream and go, oh, I want to go to that one, that one, that one.
Well, that was me going, Winter Fantasy. I'd love to go to Winter Fantasy.
I know, and I would read those and go, oh, there's so many great cons. And then we went through a time when there weren't a lot of great cons, guys. I mean, I remember when I was looking up North Texas and just trying to find a con like ours, and there was nothing. There was like all these big cons, and the only con I found with an old school track was Total Con, which had Frank Minster running 5 games in a room. And that's their old school track, but nobody had old school tracks. And nowadays, whatever flavor of, they have Chaosium Con, for God's sake. Go there and play your nuts off and play Call of Cthulhu 5 times. I mean, that's awesome. Who would have thought we'd have had that 10 years ago? Had a con where you could just go and play, Call of Cthulhu all day long. So it's really a great time. And we always say this, Jim and Eric and I, if you have a chance to go to a con, go to a con and meet the guys, meet the founders of the hobby. They are not going to be around forever. This year we're going to have a really big Bunnies and Burrows. It's the 50th anniversary of Bunnies and Burrows. We're having Dr. Scott Robinson in North Texas. We're crossing our fingers. Dr. Dennis Astaire, but he's 85 years old. If he comes, he said this will be the last con he ever goes to. These guys are not going to be around forever. And they're getting to where, look, I can't travel. We've talked to some of our special guests last few years. A lot of them they're tired. They're like, I'd love to go to North Texas, but I'm already going to this, and this, and I just can't make it. Understandable.
Yeah.
You're 80 years old or 75 years old.
Yeah.
Go and see these guys. Go and see them while they're around. Tell them you appreciate what they did. Believe me, they love to hear this. They never get tired of hearing the kind of effect you had on your life and how much you mean to them. It means a lot to these guys.
And even if they didn't, just make up some really great stories, and they'll love it. They'll be happy about it.
But they really appreciate it. I mean, I've talked to Alan Hanna about this before. He never gets tired of people telling him that, hey, I really like, Ghost Tower, and he's not jaded, like yet. Like some people in the hobby are, which we know of, are kind of jaded. But some of these guys, most of these guys aren't, and they're really appreciative. And last year, I mean, just every year I have interactions. Like last year, Easley doesn't come to North Texas anymore. He has a lot of health problems. He doesn't travel very far anymore. And I sat at his table at EggCon, and we talked for an hour. That may be the most we've ever talked, including him coming to North Texas for years and years. And we talked about all kinds of stuff. And he's just such an interesting person, and he's just lived such an interesting life, and he's just such an amazing artist. And I know someday I'm going to look back at those types of conversations and just say, wow, I actually got to talk and hang out with Errol. I had Errol Otis in my game not once but twice, 2 different North Texas. Errol Otis is sitting at the table playing a cleric at my table. And, at some point, I'm going to look back on that and say, that was just really amazing. I'm so glad I did that. You will not regret unless you get COVID or whatever. Well, you will not regret attending a con and meeting these people and just being able to, hang out and talk and have a great time. So definitely take advantage of it. That's all I got, guys. I mean, let's talk about whatever. I mean, I don't want to monopolize all the time, but that's pretty much all I have. We just want to ask you guys some great conversations out of that. What do you guys got? What do you got end of the year wise?
Well, this is that time of year that I always think about. Christmas is past and stuff that I got when I was a kid. We all had that Christmas that we got S3 and A1 and we had to wait so long. Jim Kitchen, what is the reason that the OSR struggles out west? I am trying with one person.
I have a theory, by the way, too. Go ahead.
So Chris, I'd say a couple of things, right? Unfortunately, the West Coast, I think the West Coast embodies a lot of what I would sort of say alternate gaming, 5th edition. I think the West Coast, if the Midwest is a sort of grognardy kind of central area, I think the West Coast is leans in a more recent, newer fashion, right? It's not that culture wasn't out there; it is. But I think one of the reasons that we haven't had a really good West Coast show. Now, I've been to a lot of shows on the West Coast. There are some great stores on the West Coast, stores with long, deep histories. There's the one in San Diego, Game Town. There's a ton of great stores, and they've all been puttering along for however. But you have the question of where do you have it, and where do you have the show, and how do you grow the show? Now, again, I mentioned they've just taken to Milwaukee, Adepticon. Adepticon started as 20, 30 guys who said, we're going to be a club, we're going to get together, we're going to have tables, we're going to play 40K, it's going to be this. And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And all these cons have to start somehow, some way. And if you don't see the con you want, start the one you want. Mm-hmm. And again, we should write this down, guys. I think we should have an episode of Talking Crit that talks about starting a con in your small town, or starting a small con in your town. Because what I would say to you is you need to go to a hotel with a convention center attached, or a moderately sized hotel. Look at North Texas, where it's not by any way, shape, or form like a Gaylord or any of these monster hotels. It's a hotel that's got some ballrooms attached to it, and it can handle a wedding. If it can handle a wedding reception, it can handle a small con.
Absolutely.
Yep. And that's what you should be thinking about. And then you need to pick the weekend that works for you, ish, and you need to shop it around, and you need to go to hotels and say, okay, what weekend in April do you have free? Oh, well, we've got this weekend and this weekend, but we've got the Fish Fanciers the first weekend, and then the third weekend we've got the cat contest. We're a regional for national cat showing competition. Okay, great. So the fish aficionados are the first weekend, and the pussy fanciers are the third weekend, and that's just
yes.
So that tells you the second weekend and the fourth weekend are available. So once you find that out, then you can start working on this. And I think you have to start with what's my baseline? Like, am I going to spend $2,000 on this? Am I going to spend $3,000 on this, and so on? But there's the problem. So Chris mentions the only convention in Orange County is Mini Wars, but it's an HMGS con primarily. It's at Cal State Fullerton. I ran an OSR. It was a hint, but I'm only one GM. You're right. And you know what? So don't be the only GM. Be the showrunner. Be the showrunner that says, right, I'm going to recruit and I'm going to start lining people up, and you start advertising in game stores and you start putting up flyers. Don't be like Don at WizardCon. Don, I love you, but you spent way too much time elbows deep in your website. I didn't realize GameTown was out of business. I'm sorry. But there are some really great stores on the West Coast that have thriving populations. And this is the big thing. Gamers are like cannibals. Where one is spotted, many lurk. And if you have the show and you advertise it and you do flyers and you promote the hell out of it for 6 to 9 months, the first year, the only thing you're trying to do is cover costs. And if you can cover your costs, this lets you roll into the second year. There are people on the West Coast, there's no shortage of people on the West Coast, that you can probably bribe, cajole, whatever, to travel to be your guest stars, right? You don't have to have 75 guest stars at your first show. You can have 2 or 3. You can make them the royalty, right? Like, I'm going to get your hotel room. I'm going to pay for your airfare. Please bring your spouse. I just want you for the weekend. Your commitment has to be like, you have to run a couple of games. You have to do a couple of panels, blah, 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 blah. And build the show that way. Now, this is sort of turning into what I think we should do later on.
Jim, let me interrupt real quick. Just one thing. When it comes to special guests, we have asked people all during the years what makes you want to come to a con, and honestly, special guests is not high on their list. They want to come and game with other people. Special guest is awesome, but very seldomly do you get people that just, if you don't have all these great special guests, I won't come to your con. They want to come and they want to game, Jim. So just remember that. If you have 1 or 2 great, you don't need 100 guests. You don't need 50 guests.
No, you don't need 100.
Just bring a couple of guys that, but it doesn't necessarily add the bottom line having all these guests. We like doing it because we just like doing it. But I'm sorry, but I just want to interrupt. And just have gaming. Just have.
And so the other thing is that I think a big mistake is not leveraging connections. And so when I say that, right, like, it may be your spouse or your cousin or somebody that you know that owns a food truck. And this is what, like, it has to be a good food truck. It can't be like the Roach Coach. But this is where for the first weekend, you're like, hey, listen, do you have anything lined up? Let me pencil you in. Because what I would like is I would like you to be my, you got to work with a hotel on this, but I'd like you to be my food truck of choice for my small show. And it doesn't have to be all weekend. It could be a one-day show. And then after the one day, if it goes well on the first year, make it expand it to a 2-day, right? But when you expand the show and give people a reason to stay overnight and stay overnight at the hotel, this gives you the leverage of, okay, well, we need a con rate. I'm not just renting the ballroom. Now we're talking about a con rate, and I need a comped room or a couple of comped rooms or however much. We can talk about this later, but there's a way you're going to have to recognize that if your area doesn't have what you want, you're going to have to create it. You're going to have to actually roll up your sleeves and create it. And it should be you versus some other schlemiel that comes along and starts to do the thing that you want to do, because you've got to take your vision. And if you're not sure, if you haven't been to some of these smaller cons like we talk about, if you haven't been to North Texas, come to North Texas. Take notes. Yep. Right? Don at WizardCon is like, I'm going to copy North Texas because there's a lot worse models you could copy. I think there's a lot of lessons to learn, but that would be, we'll do an episode of talking.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how
I made a note of it. By the way, Agile, thank you for the,
this is a great conversation because, again, right, the only way this stuff happens is if somebody rolls up their sleeves. Adepticon started as a bunch of guys that just like to play 40K and drink beer. And Adepticon is now the single largest miniatures event in the world. They have outgrown every venue to the point they now are literally the Mecca in Milwaukee, and they're filling the place. And that's how this stuff goes. That's how this stuff rolls.
And I'll also about the special guest thing. Depending on what make sure that, like, if you're running an OSR type con, a lot of these guys are just, they'll come because they're just appreciative to be remembered and come there. But don't get hung up. Look, if you have to spend a lot of money to bring a guy in, it's not worth it. I want to tell you,
never going to be worth it.
You're not getting, Ed Greenwood is great, would be awesome to have at your con, but if it costs that much to fly him in from Canada and that, it's just not worth it. Just have local. Look, we started North Texas. We were so cheap on the dollar. We found local guests. Janelle Jaquays lived in Dallas. Dennis Sestaire was in from Austin. I mean, these guys just drove. They drove in, and we paid for them to drive in and then finally, Doug said, "Well, I talked to Frank Mentzer. He said as long as we pay his flight, he'll come." And so we got Tim Kask and Frank Mentzer and Rob Kuntz to come. I mean, that was it. We had 5 special guests first year, and it was all guys that were easy to get there, local guests. My God, we were so bereft that we got this yo-yo named Jason Braun to come as a special guest. My God, what did we put ourselves through in the future having that guy here?
Yeah, you thought Matt Bag at Dick's was bad.
He would have loved that.
Well,
but just find people that are in the area that but it's not important. Like I said, every time we ask people, they always say, somebody even told us once, because we've had some guests drop off during the years. Easley has some physical issues. He doesn't want to really travel anymore. Errol Otis is very picky about going to cons. He only likes to go to 2 or 3 a year. Texas used to make the list. We're kind of off the list now because he goes to other cons, which is okay. And I was talking to somebody about that once and say, I really regret we're losing these guys. He said, that's not why people come to your con. It's cool if they're at your con, right, but that is not why people are attending your con. They're attending for the regular people, for the Matt Finches, for the Eric Tenkars, for the Jim Kitchens, for just to see these people in the hobby, for the Bill to sit around and have Bill Meinhardt beat you down about telling you how awesome his collection is and how everything in it is better than anything you have. I mean, that's why you go to these cons and in the dealer room and going in there and be able to see like James Raggy and Tom Wilson, all these guys.
So, Chris, here's something I would throw out to you, and then let's start a segue away from this because we could be here all night. So, Chris, what I would say to you is, if I was putting together a small convention in the LA Basin or the beach communities or whatever, right, I would shop around and I would try to find some place where you can get a reasonably sized ballroom, right? You're going to be fighting against weddings and so on and so forth. But here's what I would throw out, right? What's the one thing that we've talked about on this show? If you want to have sort of an OSR feel, one of the things you're going to have to talk about as far as the 80s and role playing and so on with the West Coast is Arduin. And if it were me, I would try to get my convention lined up, and then I would get the 2 wingnuts from Arduin to come out to the show, because honestly, like, that is something where Arduin was much bigger on the West Coast. It took a long time for to sort of permeate into the rest of the country. But Arduin has a deep, deep, deep fan base in the West Coast. One of the things that you could do is say, hey, I'd like to have you guys as the premier guests. I want Arduin as the linchpin guest of my show. But what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to ask that if you agree to come to the show, you have your mailing list. I'm not asking for access to your mailing list. But what I would ask is anybody in Arizona, California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington State that has bought or leveraged your crowdfunding and so on, I would ask that you send them emails and say, hey, we're coming to NewCon of California, and we're going to be the special guests, and we're going to be doing a bunch of Arduin games, and we're going to have panels on Arduin. And if you loved Arduin, this is the show that you don't want to miss. And by the way, it's at the hotel, Motel 6, blah, 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 blah. Get them to ARDUIN. And you can go back a couple months ago when we had the guys on. It's exhausting. It's the longest 2 hours of your life. Trust me. It's just nonstop wackiness. But But I would throw that out, right? Because if you're trying to build that local convention, and don't get me wrong, I have deep HMGS scars, very deep HMGS scars. I understand that they're not your audience, but you've just got to put a little more noodling on this, and then it'll be a home run.
Look, I always, and look, I will tell you right now, I am always open to helping anybody out running a starting a new convention with whatever knowledge I can help you with. I know that Jim and Eric are the same way. You know, if you need, you know, I've talked to Roger at Central New York. I've talked to a bunch of guys over the years and tried to give advice to what I, you know, at least I can tell you to avoid this pitfall. Don't do this, do this. And, you know, if need any help, just contact me on Facebook. You know, I am me. And
my God, we are the easiest people to find.
oh my God.
So
we got nothing going on.
The hate mail is just legendary. I love it. It warms me at night.
Yeah, people are always, they have no problem contacting us when we do something they don't like. We'd like to get messages about cool things and people we can help, not just like, you know, your show sucked last week because, you know, you and Jim talk too much and Eric doesn't talk. I'm like, okay. Well.
Eric's got to, like, you know, handle the background stuff. I talk enough every other day of the week.
You do. This is your rest show. My God, you got so much shit going on all the time.
Okay, so let's talk. We're 2 days out from Christmas. Tomorrow night's Christmas Eve, and so I guess Eric, you know, if you're spending time with your family and whatnot, mm-hmm. So what are you thankful for this Christmas? What Mike, Eric, what are you guys thankful for this Christmas?
I am literally thankful for this whole, I don't want to say damn, this whole dang community. Because, you know, listen, I was in law enforcement for 20 years, and say what you will, it's one of the tightest communities when things go south and they pull together. And I've seen that happen in this community time and time again. I mean, you see people like Rocky Gardner, who his recent cancer diagnosis, but isn't the only one in our community. And people pull together and they support. And I am so happy to be a part of that in general. It's the reason why Rach and I do Gamers Health on Saturday night. You know, we don't do live streams for, like, you know, the analytics and elite views. We do it because we connect with people. And connecting with this community means the world to me. And honestly, if I look back to 2020, the year the world stood still, and I never caught COVID, but I was still hospitalized 3 times for about 30 days total. I'm very thankful that here we are 5 years later, and I am doing Talking Crit with Mike and Jim on a
I thought we were going to lose you. That's why we started Talking Crit, because I'm like, you know what? You almost died 3 times this summer. Let's do this stupid show we've been talking about.
Yes.
You're obviously you're going to probably kick off in the next couple of years because your health is so fragile, but it worked out great because we finally got us off our ass.
Yes. In more ways than one.
Yes.
You know, it got me to focus a bit more on my health. And it got Rachel to, you know, focus on her health, and God bless the woman. She's lost 40 pounds this year. I can't say I did that. I did about 5 pounds.
She looks great.
Yeah, but I mean,
I want to tell you kind of a little sad story, but it's going to segue into not. I just want to make a point here. So I have a friend that I grew up with in high school. His name's Daryl, and he has. His mother passed away a few years ago. He's estranged from his sister. He's never been married. He has no kids, no grandkids. He has no immediate family. He lives in a house near me. He is a hermit and a recluse at this point. The other 6 friends, there were 7 of us that hung around in high school. We've done everything possible to try to draw him out of his shell. We get him to every once in a while to come to an event, but he is just living a very lonely life by himself in a house, and it's really sad. And I try to see him and go to lunch with him sometimes, just try to, you know, bring him out. But it makes me very thankful because I realized the best thing that ever happened in my life was getting married to my wife 26 years ago, because getting married to her, she had 3. I never wanted to have kids, and I would be probably right where Daryl is, except I do have 2 brothers and a mom, but I might be right there because my wife has 3 children. One of the children has 6 kids. The other one has another kid. I have 7 grandchildren. The latest one was just born last Monday, a week ago Monday. Little Liam. Now, I don't know why a Mexican family named their kid Liam, but they did. So his name's Liam. And but Liam's a great name. But I'm grateful for that, for having family, because I don't know what kind of a recluse I would be. I might be just like my poor buddy Daryl, and just not want to leave the house and just watch TV all day and play on the computer, because if you don't have those connections, you don't have family, it can be very lonely. And so I'm very grateful, like Eric said, for this community. It's given me so many friends. I'm always thankful for Doug, one of my best friends that passed away a few years ago, but Doug made, I always tell him, like, you made my dreams come true. I told him that. I said, because I always wanted to run a convention. I love conventions. And he was the guy that put me in a place. And Gary and I talk about him often, about how, look, we're here because of what Doug started, and we love it. We know so many more people. We have so many connections now. I get to go to conventions and people are like, hey, Bad Mike. They know who I am, which is cool. It's not an ego thing. It's just cool that, you're leaving a trace there. You're leaving a footprint somewhere. And, I'm very grateful for my family. Like I said, having a family, at least I'll have some place to live. If, I get old, hopefully I won't have to go to the nursing home. My oldest grandson said, Papa, you can always live in our backyard in a shack or something. I'm like, oh, hey, I'll take that. Better than a nursing home. I rather live in a shack, kind of like, Sin of a Woman, when Al Pacino had that house in the back and he lived with his family because nobody could put up with shit. So he had this little house in the backyard. I'm fine with that. I'll do that. But yeah, and especially getting together for the holidays, we're going to have a big, Thanksgiving Day, we're going over to the kids' house and you're going to get to see everybody. There's just nothing beats. As a matter of fact, I had a really great moment today. My daughter, my oldest daughter, her son CJ is 5 years old, and we were having lunch, and she said, "When are you going to teach CJ how to play D&D?" And is there anything cooler than that? And I said, well, he's 5 now. I didn't teach Jake till he was 6 or 7. I think let's wait a couple years. He's a really smart kid. I said, let's wait a couple years because, I just want to, make sure can handle that kind of thing. He could play at 5 years old, but I do a little more of an adult game. I don't tone
it down.
No, Jake's first game, he went into a dungeon and went too far, and he got surrounded by. He kept going on. I said, "Okay, you're running out of resources." Nope, he kept going in. Then his henchmen started getting. So he made it out alive. All his hirelings were dead at the end because he went too far. And he goes, "Papa, you were right. Sometimes it's better just to run away." I said, "It is, isn't it? You're gonna have to now. You got all new henchmen. You got to hire a whole new crew of people because everybody died helping you get out of the dungeon." But yeah, that's great to have your daughter say that. Hey, when are you going to teach my kid to play D&D? That's a cool thing. And so, yeah, just without, I don't know, I don't want to get too emotional or anything, but it's just cool. And I really appreciate, just the friendships, man. Just knowing, I've known Eric now for so many years, because we knew each other way before we ever met in North Texas. I've gotten to know Jim over the years. I knew Jim for a long time through Facebook. We would, he'd post something and I'd go, man, that's awesome. I remember posting stuff, Jim would post something. I'd say, that guy's pretty smart. He's got some good opinions because he believes the same thing I do. That's a really good opinion. And so, and it was great finally meeting Jim face to face at cons and, just all the people I've met. It's just, that's why we tell people, go to conventions, man, go to conventions, make connections. Because, I'm looking forward to game day so much because I get to see Foogly. I get to see Kim George will be there. Gary's there. I don't get to see Gary enough, all in just the people that drive in that, some of them, they come to North Texas, but we're so busy at North Texas that you don't get to spend individual one-on-one time. And those small game days are great. You go there and you get to spend a lot of one-on-one time. I know I'm rambling now, but it's just, I never thought the back end of my life would be even better than the front end. The last 30 years have been as great as the first 30 years were. The last 30 years of my life have been incredible. And it's because of this game. It's because of the hobby. It's because of the community. And it's because of my wife and her kids. So, I mean, like I said, not to get too maudlin here, but, I just have so much to be grateful for. Jim, you're going to bring down the house here? You'll make us all cry. I know it. We're going to start.
I think back about a lot of the hard Christmases I had. When you're little, Christmases are just amazing because you get free stuff sometimes. And I had harder Christmases as I grew older. And I'm thankful. I'm so thankful because I always say, right, when you have a dysfunctional parent, and I grew up with a mother that put the fun in dysfunction. I've told this story before. I don't think I've told it here, but she forgot my birthday, and then she forgot me at Christmas, and then she forgot me the next birthday, and then she forgot me for the second Christmas in a row. And I'm sitting on the stairs, I can't tell you how much lead paint I chewed off a windowsill waiting for the UPS truck to possibly bring me a present from my mom that never showed. And I can remember sitting on the steps as a kid and hearing my grandmother having the conversation with my mother where I could only hear one side of it. And she's like, "You forgot him again. It's Christmas." And then, and my grandmother replying, "You work at the largest department store in Lansing, Michigan, and you walk by a 30-foot Christmas tree countless times every day. How did you forget it's Christmas?" Right. But that's always sort of led me, when you have these kinds of damaged Christmases, what you grow to realize, right, is that where you are stuck with family, sometimes literally screwed with family, you are blessed with the ones that you love, and you are blessed with the friends that you make. And I have a hard time at this time of year every year, and there's times where it's tamped down. There's times where it's much easier. There's there's times where it's very difficult. And what I would say is, I look back on this year, and I'm very thankful for the people that I have who are my friends. I see them at shows all the time. I'm remiss in talking to some friends of mine because, like all of us, when you know that a friend has some hard news, it's not as easy to pick up the dial when everything is hunky dory. But I have some phone calls I need to make, and I need to just listen because my best friend since fifth grade is going through some stuff. I'm going through some stuff. You guys know that I had surgery a few weeks ago, and it has not been, it ain't been great. I think what I would say is that this is a great time of year to reflect on all of this. I have been very blessed in that not only did I get to see how great some people are, but some long-held suspicions over a couple of shitheads absolutely got laid bare this year, and I have a very clear picture. And frankly, I'm never going to talk to these people again. And when you watch somebody behave that badly, that abhorrently, there's a moral clarity that comes over you. It's not that I don't forgive this sort of stuff, right? Somebody posted about their church. I try to be a forgiving person, but burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, oh, shame on me. And I think that this is a remarkable community. It's a supportive community. One of the most interesting things that I noticed once was that I worked for Gaines Workshop, and we were sitting around talking about this at one point, and I said, how many of us are from non-traditional backgrounds, i.e., raised by my grandparents or adopted or whatnot? And 90% of the people that I worked with at Gaines Workshop in that area were not like in a nuclear family, one brother, one sister, mom and dad married forever, et cetera, et cetera. And it was very eye-opening, right? And I think that if you look beneath the tablecloth of our hobby, if you look beneath the wrapping paper or whatnot, you'll find that the majority of the hobby, a good chunk of the hobby, doesn't come from that sort of neat and tidy nuclear family of mom, dad, and a couple of brothers and sisters or whatnot. I think the underlying truth of our hobby that has been there since the very beginnings in 1974 is that we make our own family. And I think this show is a very logical extension of that. I've been very blessed to be allowed to be on the show with Eric and Mike. I've been very blessed to get to know all the people in the comments, even the ones who hate me. I love you too. But I think when I look at 2026 coming up, I'm very thankful that 2025 has been as great as it has because of all the people that I know that have made it that way. So that's what I got.
Look at. I'm going to take one event from this year. Our buddy Rocky Gardner had, his cancer's back, and the community has just absolutely, jumped in and said, we got it, man. We got it we're going to help you out here. And that's amazing. These people that, some that know Rocky, some that don't know Rocky. But I remember one day I'm sitting there and, I'm not even going to name names, that somebody drops $1,000 in his GoFundMe, then another person drops 1,000, and then another 1,000. I'm just like, it's like they're trying to outdo each other. Okay, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to do it too.
Right.
Well, then I'm going to match you too. You're not going to outshine me. And I just think that's so great about this community is that, they're willing to help each other and willing to, stand up for people, especially people that are, that are like Rocky, that are great members of this community and have added so much to this community, and I said earlier, and I've always believed this because I've had so many friends that come from broken families, broken households, is, your family isn't blood. You choose your family.
That's
you
right.
Absolutely choose your family. And I have friends from the gaming community that are as close as my brothers. I mean, they're the same as my brothers.
That's right. You know who you're riding about.
My brothers are great, but I have guys that to me are just as close as they are. And we've gone through just as much as I have with my real life brothers. So.
Yep. And that's the stuff that matters more than anything else. And that's a good note to end on. I think this is a show I look forward to every year. I think we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun on New Year's.
New Year's, we're going to invite a lot of people.
I only drank that much, and I'm a little tipsy, gentlemen. Well, I did take some painkillers earlier today too. So.
Oh, jeez.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not. Where was it supposed to make some? They're Mexican painkillers. So I don't know.
You have to tequila with it, man. What are you doing, Mike?
He's going to have unexplained difficulties.
So good tonight. So I'm
definitely are.
I feel sorry for your wife.
I won't snore. That'll be great. I'm not going to snore because I'll just be.
You'll be out. Folks, just quick notes. No live stream tomorrow night. No live stream.
Enjoy your Christmas Eve, folks.
It's Christmas.
Yeah.
I believe there might be a live stream on Friday. I got to check with the random party and see if they are going to randomly show up. Gamers Health on Saturday. I think there's a Rumble experience, inappropriate characters on Sunday. And then New Year's Eve.
I think I'm going to miss it, guys.
I'll be high on caffeine. We'll be doing 8 to 10. And then we'll be doing 11:30 on, and at 11:30 on, we'll have an open invite.
I may jump in the open invite because
the open invite. You're going to go to the post here on the channel because that's going to be Rich and I hosting the community.
Last year was a blast. We did it last year. It was awesome. We had people jumping in. I mean, oh my gosh, names, not names, weirdos. Strange people, the
people that you recognize the name from the chat, but you never got a chance to put a voice to them. That's your opportunity.
I will try to pop in. Like I said, I got look. I had an invite to a gaming party. I mean, come on,
Mike,
for New Year's, I gotta do that.
No need to explain.
Booze and gaming together.
I know. And by the way, thank you to the generous people that. Donated money, donated gift memberships. You're all awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to say personally, and thanks to Eric and Jim. You guys, I look forward to Wednesday night every week, and I have for years now. And I just have a great time. And look, it's really rare that you find one person that you can do a show with and get along with. To find two is amazing. I don't know if we could ever find another. We should keep it at 3.
We got to just occasionally get
find another person, but we seem to play off each other.
Let's not push our luck all that.
No, we're not pushing the luck anymore. But thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out every Wednesday. I love being with you guys. We have a great time.
Oh, ditto.
10cardstavern.com. OSR Christmas will kick off fully tomorrow night when I get home. And you'll have it'll be in batches of 3 days for my own sanity, but there's a lot of stuff in it. So
yeah, get some free shit. Win some free shit from Tankard. It's going to be awesome.
Not from me, from the donor. All right, a little bit from me, but there's a lot of donors.
Yeah, he's just the dealer. He's the dealer.
I'm the middleman.
He's the middleman.
Okay, I'm the facilitator. All right, folks. God bless.